Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with, well, you may recall that we did a video about Donizetti's complete string quartets, which are splendid works and which deserve wonderful recordings on modern instruments because they're charming and delightful and tuneful and all that stuff. And I mentioned in that video that he had also composed something like 19 symphonies. And the truth of the matter is, now having looked into it a little further, I was quoting from the notes to the booklet in the string quartets. But they're actually sinfonias, in other words, overtures, not to any particular operas. They're just independent concert works. And I managed to find recordings of a passel of them. There's like 15 of them on these two discs on Sony. I had to order this from Japan, and they showed up. They're very odd. One of them is with the the Orchestra del Teatro di San Carlo di Napoli, Naples. San Carlo under. I can't even see it. It's so small. I mean, how they do these things. Diego Dini Ciacci, conductor, and he's the conductor of both of them, and the other is the Orchestra Nazionale della RAI, Italian radio. Now, how these got onto Sony, I have no idea. These are on Sony Music FD. I have no idea what that means. It seems to me, I mean, looking at all the little hieroglyphics here, Opificio Italiano dei Classici. I have no idea what's going on here. The bottom line is, someone must have had some money, and they spent it on making these recordings. They're not great recordings. As I said about the string quartets too, we need really, really first-class recordings of this stuff. It seems a pity that Riccardo Muti never got his hands on this stuff when he was doing all that interesting Italian music at La Scala. That would have been fun, but I think a lot of this music hasn't been published, or is difficult to find or source, or you have to make your own performing editions. I mean, it doesn't get played very often, but it should. I mean, along the lines of these things, you hear overtures in the style of Rossini. I mean, really in the style of Rossini. I mean, you'd think it's by Rossini, crescendo at all. The notes here, which are also in microscopic print, say that it wasn't Rossini who invented the Rossini concerto. It was Donizetti's teacher, Meyer. Well, maybe. But as we all know in the world of music, what matters isn't who does something first. What matters is who does it best. But hearing this is really fun. On the first disc here, volume, that's volume 2. So volume 1, this doesn't say volume anything. It's really obviously a homemade production that they paid Sony to issue. It's one of those things. It has this, it's like a home movie. It has that sort of delightfully amateurish quality to it in places. But, I mean, I assume Diego Dini Ciacci is not an amateur, but, oh, gee, the production here. First, you get symphonies with little names. You have La Partenza, the departure, and the fire. Then Cindio, it's got this alarm bell going off, throughout. And then there's Una Folia and some other juicy things. And then there's a 3-movement work. It's not complete. It's based on, I think, let's see, it's in E minor. So it's based on, I think, the last string quartet. And he didn't complete the orchestration. It goes through the minuet. It's a shame. It'd be nice if he'd finished it. But anyway, so you've got a bunch of those here. Then there's like a bunch more over here. And in volume 2 is some of the niftiest stuff, because you've got his Sinfonia in Memoriam for Bellini, his funeral prelude, his Sinfonia on the death of people you've never heard of. There's Antonio Capuzzi. Is that his name here? Antonio Capuzzi? Yes, and it's a big work. It's like 11 minutes long, and some other things like that. In addition to the things that sound like Rossini, Donizetti in funeral mode is terrific. It's his una furtiva lagrima style, and he was really good at that, writing these elegiac tunes. The problem with these things, if you can find them, is that the sonics are really bad. I mean, it sounds like somebody took a home cassette recorder and set up a mic in an empty hall somewhere and just let them go. And so, it's muddy and lacking in clarity, and well, muddy means lacking in clarity, but it's both of those things, and it doesn't have any presence, and really it's a shame. It's just a shame because you want to hear this music in its best possible light, and there's a whole pile of like Rossini like and other types, Donizetti like overtures that I don't think this is all of them, but it's most of them. It should be something really worth collecting. But I'm telling you right now, they exist. I've seen recordings of like one or two of other ones popping up here and there, but if you're going to do this, it's nice to get it out there. It is. I believe that. But you really, really need to have a top-notch quality performance and recording. And these performances are somewhat soft-edged. I mean, they're not terrible. I think they're better than they sound. I really do. But they just don't sound good. And so what was the point? I mean, I just don't get it. You pay money to hire the orchestras, to make the recording, to sell it to Sony, to ask them to distribute it, to do whatever you did. And, not that anyone's ever going to hear about it, but I'm telling you, they exist. And we should keep our eyes open for something better to come up. It sounds like a really good Naxos project. Do all the Donizetti orchestral music. That would be fun. My late friend, the conductor, Antonio D'Almeida, did all the Donizetti ballet music. And that was lots of fun. But there's other stuff by him. He was really quite an amazing composer if you look a little deeper. I just wish that these discs did him justice. They just don't. I'm sorry. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.